Welcome to Wake Up with Patti Catter. Come dive into today's episode, sponsored by the Patriotic Mermaid.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to Wake Up with Patti Catter. I have a very special guest today, Timothy Dix. Timothy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and having a conversation with you today.
Yeah, Timothy, you have such a long bio, and there's so many things I want to address. Timothy is one of the, I wouldn't say founders, but one of the guys from the get-go at HostGator, which is pretty awesome. And we're going to go ahead and talk about that. But first, I want you to tell our audience a little bit about your background, where you came from, a little bit about your childhood, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So I was born and raised in rural West Virginia, very small area, really, the primary jobs were coal mining and sawmills. The town that I actually went to was called Richwood because it was rich in wood. And, our school mascot was the lumberjack, and it was, just a very small mountain rural area that centered around those industries. And really from a really young age, I had always felt kind of different and I wanted more. I would say, growing up, my dad worked in sawmills and was a coal miner, like most people there. And for multiple generations, I'd had, my grandpa worked in the coal mines, that was just kind of the goal there, because for there, in terms of the job market, those were the high paying jobs available, because coal mining is pretty dangerous and there's a lot of health risks with breathing in, all that. So, my family didn't have any entrepreneurial background or anything like that, and we had I would say my childhood was a pretty typical middle class childhood. We had always had everything needed, but I know that my parents always wanted to do more, but then they could. But we always had the basics and everything needed. So like I said, I'd always felt kind of different, and I did extremely well in school and was just always kind of like questioning. It was interesting because I was like the very well behaved, perfect kid, quote unquote, but I was also in a way like I had all these like rebellious thoughts and like I'm gonna get out of this place sometime, because I know there's more to the world, there's more out there, and I would see places. So from a young age, I always said I'm going to end up in New York or California or big city. Like I don't, there's more there, and of course my family, they were being realistic, and so they're just like, well, maybe, but don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because my parents, they always encouraged me to do things, but they also taught me, they say you have to be very realistic,
Yeah. I mean, no one really in my family, had went to college or anything like that. So even that was something that it's like, well, maybe, but I don't know how you're going to pay for that. And, but long story short, I got, on the internet, this was late 90s, so it's kind of early days, got on the internet and, I'm really big on being resourceful. And I think that's one of the things that has helped me the most is just figuring out what resources do I have available around me? How can I use those and leverage those to do more or to get to the next place and then, reassess and, repeat. So I basically realized that it was fairly easy for me to learn how to make basic websites back then. And, I realized that using the internet, I could learn computer repair, and because I could always look something up. And so I started in middle school, actually, my first business. So I was about 13 at the time, doing computer repair in town. And I always thought, if I can't fix this person's computer problem, then I just won't charge them for it. So, I think some people think that you have to kind of know everything and, be so far ahead, but you really just have to take it one step at a time. And, no one in any business, even some of the most successful, has everything figured out all the time. And so, I just started putting up flyers, like the grocery store and, word of mouth, and put little display ads in the newspaper and, all that, and became known for it locally. There was really no competition for that. And then that kind of like naturally evolved into website creation. So I would create websites, but I realized that there weren't a lot of businesses locally that wanted a website at the time. So I realized that there was a lot of power in selling on the internet, and this was before PayPal even existed. It was kind of a new thing. So I started making websites, and I don't think a lot of the clients knew my age, but it didn't matter. Like they were, some of them would pay a couple $1,000s for a website, and all of these checks and money orders and things started just showing up, and my parents were just like, "What are you doing? What are you doing on the computer?
Drugs?
Where is this money coming from? Are you doing something illegal? You're not selling drugs? What are you doing?" Because they didn't really even use the computer. So, they were kind of concerned, but they knew that they weren't really, that it was something that they weren't going to change my mind on. And then over time, basically from that point on, from middle school on, I've never made less than six figures. So I went into high school making six figures. And that was a really interesting transition because I was this quiet, shy, not very popular kid. And then suddenly I'm the local celebrity. Everybody wants to be your friend. I'm on the front of the newspaper. Their school was getting like media attention, and like it was good that I was actually in a small town in a way, because the school was very actually supportive. The administrators, principals, the teachers, because I did. I could do the schoolwork pretty easily, and so I would finish early, and then I would still be at school. And so there was like one teacher in particular, Jenny Jones, that was the business classes teacher. So she taught like accounting and keyboarding and all the different business classes that they had. And we became pretty close, and basically I had a workstation set up in the back corner for a classroom. And so when I would finish my work in high school, in other classes, I had a laminated hall pass and everything. So, because I would go fix teachers' computers and stuff. But when I would finish my work early, it was just a known accepted thing, and everyone was okay with it. I would slip off and just quietly, go to her classroom and go back to my workstation. She's teaching her class, but I just go back and I've worked on my business and kept building. So,
wow. So that must have been a little bit of a challenging time for you, because as a teenager, you're already trying to figure out kind of who you are, what you're about. Mm-hmm. And then you probably had some people try to use you, especially at that age, I'm assuming. So that must have been really...
well, yeah, there was definitely like everybody suddenly wanted to be my friend. Everyone, suddenly was very, very nice. Like I didn't really have that many negative reactions. I think there were some that maybe they didn't, it's kind of like they heard about it, but they didn't really think that it was true, things like that. They're like, well, I don't think he's really making any money, but it was an interesting time. But for the most part, it was pretty positive. And, I got from there, making websites, I realized that people need web hosting when they make a website. And for anyone who doesn't know, web hosting is kind of like the cloud or the servers that the website is stored on, so that when you access it from your computer, it connects through the internet to that server and that's called web hosting. So it's kind of like the internet access on the other side of a website, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And what I realized though was that people needed web hosting. I was making these websites, but web hosting was something that you had to pay every month for. And so that was kind of my thing. I'm like, I kind of like this recurring income thing where, it's like a subscription and they just pay every month, because once they're set up, I mean, if something went wrong, obviously you had to fix it, but, you could set people up and, they would just keep using the service because they had to have it to have a website. And so they would pay every month. So I got into the web hosting industry. And it started small and, grew, and actually ended up, joining another, larger web hosting company and kind of merging, my smaller business in, when I finished high school and moved to upstate New York for a little bit. And then, I got a call from, a friend that, I knew from a message board. We didn't really have social media, a lot of it back then. That was like the MySpace days, I guess. And we had AOL Instant Messenger and our Motorola Razr phones. And
you look too young for that.
I'm 34, so.
Wow.
But basically it's something that I got a call, from a friend of mine, and he said, hey, I've started HostGator, new company. And he was like, I think, they were up to like 9 people at the time. And he's like, it's starting to take off. Like, I know, the industry well, the business side, and all the formalities and all that. And do you want to move down to Florida and join? And so I went down to Florida, and it was kind of I don't really know what you're going to do, but you pick your title and do stuff and help tame the chaos and grow. And so I was the COO of HostGator, and we were in at the time, tiny little 1,500 square foot office in a strip mall, very crowded, because we kept hiring and hiring. Soon realized that South Florida was not the best market to hire tech support people in. And so we looked at other locations, and really for business reasons and the taxes and real estate prices and quality of life that our employees could have, we moved to Houston about 6 months later. And so we went from this 1,500 square foot little office to the company buying a 35,000 square foot building. And, we had tenants on 3 floors. And then we had 1 floor, and we're like, we'll never fill this floor up. I mean, the tenants paid rent that would basically pay for the building. And within a year, we were not renewing leases, because we moved gradually. It's like, well, let's take the 3rd floor now, the 4th and the 3rd. No, we need the 2nd floor. No, the credit union on the 1st floor has got to move out, and so it just kind of went, and we hired hundreds of people within a year of moving to Houston, just to keep up with growth. And there was a point where it was so hectic that, we were hiring for customer service jobs. Our main criteria at one point was take this typing test, see how fast you can type. And that was the main criteria, because we just needed people very quickly. We were growing so fast. And we ended up growing that company, pretty much organically. And, we ended up growing to having over 10,000 servers hosting about 3 million websites. I think at the peak, definitely 1,000 or so employees, pretty close, give or take. And so it was definitely a crazy ride. The founder was 3 years older than me. We have the same birthday actually, but 3 years older. And so, I was kind of the one of there were two of us that were kind of like his right hands for dealing with anything that came up. And, so it eventually evolved into more like dealing with like M&A and all that, because we had, we didn't have any outside investors or capital or anything like that. Like it was all just organic growth.
Wow.
And we did a lot of paid advertising, but we were reinvesting money that, was coming in. We didn't have any, the only debt that we ever had was a, mortgage for the office building. So we had all these companies, wanting to buy, and, so I dealt with a lot of the M&A, talked to them like to see, because it was always kind of like the answer is no, unless it's like an obscene, crazy number, and eventually, Brent, the founder, basically said, "Can you please go start another business?" And I'm like, "Well, I kind of don't want to. I'm kind of, things are good. Like we've got kind of a rocket ship here, I like it, And he was like, "But I need diversity, And so his thing was, he was so heavily invested since the company was reinvesting, and he owned 100% of the company, So he was reinvesting. He was like, I don't really care what it is, but I trust you. Obviously, we have that background. He's like, go start something. I will invest whatever you need in it, and I want a minority share in it." And he's like, "So I have some diversity." So I thought, what is more? Web hosting was recurring subscription, and I liked that, but I thought, how can we go broader, where more people need it? And so I launched a voice over IP phone company, VoIPO, VoIPO. VoIPO is actually 14 years old now, still own it today. I did buy out his shares, but I still own it. We have about 100,000 residential customers all over the country.
Wow, that's incredible.
We do business service. And the cool thing is, some of our customers, when I look at records, it's like they've been a customer for 12 years. We have, a ton of customers that have been with us, for that long, paying their phone bill every month. So, I love that. And then basically, so whenever that business started taking off, I kind of phased out of HostGator and was just kind of selectively involved, and moved because I didn't care for the weather in Houston, and ended up moving out to Southern California, in Orange County, Irvine. And, because I was at a point then where, the business was doing well, and it was definitely not a good decision if you look at it from a business perspective, because we were going into moving from Texas to California was higher cost of living, taxes, regulations, all that. But I was kind of at a point where I'd already made enough money that I'm kind of like, it's more of a lifestyle choice.
Quality of life is so important.
Right. And so, I've been out here for about 10 years now. HostGator, a few years later, someone finally offered the magic can't pass up number, which was several $100 million. HostGator was sold about 5 years ago. So that was a nice win for everybody involved. And it was a crazy exit. And then after that, I still run VoIPO, but I did start exploring more. I did some angel investing, invested in a lot of companies and started doing consulting for them, and just kind of exploring, because I just love entrepreneurship. I love business and just a variety of industries, even though my background's mainly SaaS, like software and subscription and things like that, software as a service. But like, I started really seeing a lot of patterns, and with consulting clients, in terms of being able to come in from the outside. And since we had to learn by fire, building HostGator and building my, even younger, building my other businesses, I just figured everything out. And with HostGator, we had to figure everything out. It was like we didn't expect to have like 500 or 1,000 employees. I mean, it was like we just never imagined that the growth would be like that. I mean, we were like we had an affiliate program that we were paying out millions of dollars a month in commissions. We had like 40,000 resellers. It was just insane, and managing all that. But so I think that really helped to be able to go into a lot of companies that maybe they're in a different industry, but the perspectives and things that I had and the lessons that I had learned, I could help them find those little blind spots very easily and tweak their businesses. And so I started doing a lot of consulting, because VoIPO was honestly kind of running itself to an extent. It's like, it's phone service. We are working on some really cool, more innovative things now, mainly with business texting and analytics. But that's kind of something new. But basically, we're working on that, and so getting more back into it. But with the consulting, kind of just started loving just the investing in companies and consulting with them, or consulting for equity. And obviously, in all of our companies, we had, or in all of my companies and HostGator, we had always done our marketing in house. We never used an agency or anything. So, I'd spent if I don't count HostGator, I know I've spent at least $10 million on AdWords, just in other things. And HostGator, we were spending so much money that we couldn't find anything else to do. We were literally maxed out in our Facebook rep, Google, and all these ad networks were just like, we just can't sell you any more ad space. Your budget is like as high as it can go. It's just, there's not enough space available for what you want. So we sponsored a UFC fighter, had NASCAR, all this stuff just to try to do more. But that really helped a lot. So with the consulting, one of the things that I kept seeing over and over were people that would need help with marketing or want to grow. I really enjoyed that and had always tried to stay ahead of the curve with it, for my own businesses. And finally, I got to the point with the consulting where, someone would pay me a lot of money to help them come up with a plan. And then they couldn't fully execute it, because they're like, well, the other agency said they only run Facebook ads, and, you have a combination of things that you want to do. And the company was Profit Layer. That's the name of my consulting company.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Profit Lawyer, right?
Profit Layer.
A layer.
Yeah, because I look at it as like there are different layers that go into any business, and that's, it could be like operations, marketing, all of it, but you need all of those, for things to work. And then within each layer, like within the marketing layer, there are all different types of marketing that you can layer together. So you could use a combination of whether it's like YouTube and Facebook ads and organic and referrals and setting up affiliate programs, and it's different for every business. And so we take like a consultative approach where most agencies come in and they're like, we're a Facebook ads agency, we run Facebook ads, that's what you're going to do, and it's like, okay, that might work, but you miss out on the synergies that you can get by like layering everything together. And you may have, vanity metrics, which are like, like you're getting a lot of likes and, your lead costs might be going down or whatever, but are those people buying anything? And are you actually making money? And could you actually, maybe you should cut your ad budget, and like reinvest in, spend that money on PR or, any number of things depending on the type of business. So I really look at the whole business and, create like kind of like a custom layered plan with them that could include paid ads, organic media, booking them on podcasts, anything like that. And so I kept running into that. And basically we launched an ads agency as a division within Profit Layer. And I acquired another agency to do that. And so whenever we have paid ads, our paid media agency runs Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube, programmatic, pretty much any paid platform out there, and manage anywhere. Some clients, the budget might be as little as $5,000 a month, and we have some that are in the hundreds of thousands a month. And then there are a few that are like it's unlimited as long as you're meeting the metrics.
I love that you have that layer effect, because I've contacted different people to try to find advertising for either my podcast or my new business, and there's not that layer there. And I feel like everyone's trying to sell me one thing. They're trying to sell Facebook ads, or they're trying to sell Google, and you want that real good balance. So I love that.
Yeah.
The other thing I have to say is I love your heart. Anybody who's an angel investor has such a different heart than the typical business person. And I want to point that out because some people may not know what an angel investor is, but, and I can't speak for you personally, but I know other angel investors who are looking for good causes to actually help. And they're not just money hungry for it. Would you mind just quickly touching on what has intrigued you, or what made you decide to help other people? That's pretty big. It's a big deal, and I want to highlight that.
Yeah, I think I've figured things out on my own, but I think that I'm able to help people apply a lot of the stuff that I learned and give them capital that, because of the position that I'm in now, maybe a small amount of money to me that I'm willing to risk. But for them just starting a business, like it could be even like $10,000 is huge for a new business, and so, but for me, like I can afford to lose $10,000, or my investments are usually anywhere from 10 to maybe on the high end a couple $100,000. So it's small rounds, and it's kind of like not like I'm really looking for people that they have the desire, they're willing to work hard, they have like a viable product and idea, and they're not like, I want to start a business and to make a lot of money. Because if you're just focused on the money, you're probably not going to have that much success.
Yes.
So I look for people that they have everything else. They're like, I have a really cool idea. Or it could be as simple as maybe they don't have a crazy new innovative idea that is going to be something brand new to the market. Maybe they're just saying, I can take like a very straightforward, simple service and I can do it a better way. Or I can add just a little bit more to it to do it at a higher level of service. Like, maybe it's like, like lawn care or service businesses or anything like that. It doesn't have to be like some crazy invention or software or something, because I love small business. I have some clients that are like large publicly traded companies, but I really love the small businesses, and that's really the heart of the country. Most businesses are small, and it's like, a lot of people are like, well, why would you want to invest in someone that, wants to start a landscaping company or something like that? Like, how much money can you really make? Like, I'm like, but there there are like so many people that, if they have that opportunity, and just a little bit of help, and then I can contribute not only money, but sometimes I don't even contribute money. It's just like connections, exposure, experience, or, we plug them into our marketing agency and cover, their ad costs, or in exchange for profit sharing or equity in the company. And so I really like those small, boring businesses, and just helping people, because there's so many opportunities out there for people, and the people that are really, passionate about what they're doing, and, they want to do it with excellence. I mean, I just love working with them, and giving them a chance.
That says a lot about you. And I think that that's why you've been so successful, because people can sense that when they go to somebody for, to hire somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to say it again. I love your heart. It's just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I can see, you started out at humble beginnings in
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia as a coal miner's son. And, for those of you who don't know, you should just Google what a coal miner has to do. It's very, very hard work. And so I just love hearing your story, because you kind of took us through your childhood and how you had that drive to do something more. And now you've done a lot and you're still giving back. And I love that. So
yeah, and it's a lot of fun, and that's one of the reasons that I got into doing a lot of consulting, really, is just because, I had joined, a lot of business networking groups and masterminds and all that. And, now, like, usually I have businesses that, usually I'll do like an assessment, where it's like they pay, a fee, and, we just kind of deep dive into everything about their business. And then it's like, hey, I think I can help you, and here are some things that I think I can help you with. Or sometimes it's like, I don't know that I can help you. I don't think I can. Or sometimes it's, I don't think I can, but I know someone you should talk to see if they can, and having, trusted people around, because, it's kind of like the layers, sometimes there's just different things. Like, it's not necessarily the type of marketing that you should do, and the combination of ad networks and media appearances and stuff doesn't necessarily, it's not like a fixed thing. It's individual for every business and service, but it's also individual for the owner of that business and their personality, their interests, what they like to do. Like a good example is, if you have someone, video marketing is huge right now, especially if you have video marketing and you run some like paid ads to the videos. It's like super low cost to do that, because Facebook and Google and, the YouTube and the platforms, they're kind of like right now competing for video market share. So the prices are a little lower. And so promoting content like that is good. But if you prescribe that to like a business that the person is not comfortable in camera, then it's not a good fit, because that person, maybe they like to network with people. So it might mean that the majority of their marketing should be face to face, like local networking groups, or, it's all individual, and it's kind of like you wouldn't go to the doctor and just say, I need X surgery, do it. It's like, that's not how it works. They diagnose, and they check, the symptoms, figure out what's best for you. And then here's your prescription, here are your options. Would you like to get this medication or surgery? So
I love that you're
consultative,
Yeah, I love that you're so upfront about it too, because I've had meetings and I just feel like, oh gosh, I just wasted, half an hour of my life having this meeting with someone. If they had just been upfront with me and told me, this is what we offer, these are the different platforms. So I like that. If somebody wanted to hire your company to help with their advertising or marketing, where would they go? What is your website?
So it's just profitlayer.com. Or they can find me on pretty much any social media platform, Timothy Dick or Profit Layer on social media. The majority of our business is all word of mouth, so we don't advertise a lot, but we are out there. And the main criteria, that we're really looking for and the people we're able to help marketing wise are the ones that they already have a product or service. They maybe are selling a little bit of it or a lot of it. Basically, they just have some kind of product or service that's existing that they're selling some of. And then we can help them scale up. And we also do a lot of audits, like where if they are doing paid advertising on Facebook or Google or any of the major networks, we can go in and just kind of do a quick audit and almost always tell them, hey, like 30% of this is not it's not even being tracked. So how do we know, and we always find huge savings there. And there are sometimes though that people come through, it's like, you know what, your agency's doing a great job. So, we're not going to try to like convert you because, we just don't believe in that. And so we, like I said, we work with, small businesses that have a budget of like a few $1,000s a month or things like that. Some of our larger clients, if you're into personal development and that space, probably recognize some of them. Steve Sims, Jay Abraham, Harbecker, who run all their marketing for their online courses. There's some of the larger ones, and then there's obviously like SaaS and tech, and then beyond that, so we have the marketing, and then I also do just standard business consulting where it's just kind of like, here's my business, here's what I've got, here's what I think my problem is, and I either want to grow or I need to streamline or whatever the case is, where I'll just literally just spend a few hours on like that diagnosis kind of call and just figure out, can I help or not? Because sometimes there are just little connections that I have, or maybe it's like, hey, I know this other person has an audience and they have a big list, and if you would just pay them a commission, they would just tell all their customers about you, and you would get business from that. So, I just basically take all the resources and info that I have and just see if I can help them or not. So
That's
for that,
huge.
people just reach out to me and, we set something up and go from there. I love what I do. So it's kind of and I love different industries, because we have clients in everything from high tech to venture capital funds to fertility, farm software. We have acupuncture. We've got like such a variety. It's pretty cool because, like I said, it's not about just creating the next Facebook or the next iPhone or anything crazy. That can happen, but
yeah, would you please do that?
yeah, but it's like at the end of the day, there is nothing wrong with staying small. Even if someone has a small business and they are they're making a good living for themselves and they like that, I'm not one to say you should grow. It's like, if you don't want to grow and you're comfortable with it, maybe more sense to stay where you're at, because as you grow, you might add more stress in your life or need to commit more time or different things. So we just look at the whole picture, and I have a great team of people that work within my companies, and we just love to help.
Excellent. Timothy, thank you so much. And everybody who's listening, I'm going to have Timothy's social networking attached to all of the description of the show. We'll put it on our social media as well. We'll tag you, Timothy, for sure. Thank you again for joining us. And is there just one little bit of information you could maybe give somebody who's considering to start a business right now? What would you say one of your biggest pieces of advice would be?
I think one of the biggest things is just to realize that everything is done one step at a time, and so you don't have to have everything figured out when you start. You just kind of have to start somewhere, get one thing done, and then see what happens then, and then add something to that and just keep building like that, because even the largest companies, there's a lot of internal stuff that they don't know what they're going to do, or there's always stuff going on. But just don't compare yourself to others, and also just be resourceful, and look at your resources and realize that there is no one way to do stuff. There are many ways, and a lot of times, like, you may have resources already that you could use a little differently than you currently are, that could help you launch or build a business if you just use them that way. So sometimes, and that's where sometimes an outsider can see, like, everybody in town. Like, obviously you could open something and everyone would, go there. But it's like people, I think we all tend to just kind of overlook our resources.
I agree with that. That's very true. Well, thank you again, Timothy, for being on the show. I'm really happy that you joined us. You had some great information, and I don't even know where to start. Usually I put together an article after the show. I'm going to have a chapter book for this one. It was so great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it was great being on. I hope everyone got value out of it. I appreciate you having me on, and, let's connect, and maybe we'll do this again.
That would be amazing. Thank you, Timothy. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful week.
Thank you for listening to Wake Up with Patti Catter.
Thank you.
Thanks for all that you do.
Sponsored by the Patriotic Mermaid. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
For more information and updates, check out www.patticatter.com or thepatrioticmermaid.com. Also, make sure to drop us a follow on Instagram at Wake Up with Patti Catter and at The Patriotic Mermaid. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on all major podcast platforms. Until next time, take care.